So Carly's taking care of her mom today, and so I'm on my own for dinner.
Hello, I'm Carolee.
And I'm Charles.
We're an old married couple who enjoys traveling, cooking, and having adventures.
Together we enjoy all the wonderful things the world has to offer.
Join us as we discover the wonder about us. Chin chin.
So lately I've been craving a fried egg sandwich. It's not something Carolee cares for, but I really like them. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start out with 2 big pieces of garlic sourdough. And I'm going to butter the inside because we're going to grill it up. But we're just going to grill the insides. We're not going to grill the outside. And what it's going to give me is a nice soft texture on the outside, but it's going to be nice and crispy and able to handle the egg on the inside. And it makes for a really nice texture for a sandwich. Like, that's a good secret. If you want people to think you're making gourmet sandwiches, grill the inside of the bread, not the outside. And they'll come out really special. So I think I've been mentioning lately that we're going to be going on a cruise to the Baltic in 3 weeks, 20 days now. The Baltic is a really unusual cruise destination because it is not as common as, like, say, the Mediterranean, since you can go to the Mediterranean basically in any season. But the Baltic, you can only go during the summertime. Fresh sliced tomato, I'm going to put this alongside. Fried egg sandwich is very rich, so you want a little bit of acid, a little bit of sweet and sour. With that, I'm just going to slice it up and put it on my plate alongside the sandwich. But this cruise to the Baltic is taking place in July, and July is Camp NaNoWriMo. I've participated in NaNoWriMo now for 4 years, since 2019. So I did 19, 20, 21 to 22. And I did Camp Nano a couple of times. This year I did April, and I was planning to do July, but with going out of town, it seems like kind of a hassle, kind of a pain in the ass, because I would be on a cruise ship floating around the Baltic. Do I really want to do be writing a novel? Of course, with the last Camp Nano, what I did was I did scenes. So rather than writing a novel like I do in November, one problem I usually have with writing a novel is coming up with a big plot and making it last throughout the whole book. Because that's a lot of writing to keep a plot going. Oftentimes, I think of things like scenes and character interactions and stuff like that, but I don't specifically think about a whole plot, or I have trouble coming up with an entire plot. And so for Camp Nano in April this year, what I did was I took characters and wrote scenes for a book, and I'm thinking that maybe if I do that, like if I come up with some ideas for characters and I write scenes individually, that they'll come together and I'll discover an entire plot, and then maybe make that my NaNoWriMo November project. For those of you that don't know, NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writing Month, and a bunch of us fools take on the torture of writing a 50,000 word novel in the month of November, which means writing 1,667 words per day and coming out with a finished book at the end of it. But my strategy was successful. Like in April, I wrote scenes, I wrote characters, and I think I can take that now, and that's the bones of a good story for a good book. So my plan was to do the same thing in July with a different book, one I've been meaning to write for a while. Mystery novel. It takes place in a haunted house. Scooby-Doo kind of thing. But I thought, going on vacation, this is going to be really difficult. So I switched things up. Rather than writing scenes from a book or characters from a book, I think I'm going to specifically concentrate on writing blog posts. Right now I have my goal set at writing 15 travel blog posts per day, or for the month of July. So keep an eye on the website for that, wonderaboutus.com. But I might change that goal. I might say 30, or if I'm journaling or something like that, then maybe including pictures, I might say a picture is worth 1,000 words. I haven't completely landed on the goal, but right now I've got it set at 15 blog posts, which I think is pretty good. That's one every other day for the entire month of July. Whether they get published or not, whether I publish them or not, that remains to be seen. I mean, maybe they're crap, maybe they're something worth reading, but for now, that's my current goal. So look at this. Here's my bread coming off the plate. I'm gonna take ooh, that's hot. Ouch, ouch, ouch. All right, I'm gonna cool down the stove. So take a look. So see, I got the bread here. It's beautiful golden brown, super crispy on one side and super soft on the outside. So the outside portion where my mouth is gonna be eating it, and then the inside portion is gonna be all nice and crispy, and it's gonna hold up really well to the mayonnaise. Which, by the way, that's the secret to a great fried egg sandwich, is lots and lots of mayonnaise. And not just like Miracle Whip or something like that. We're talking, or even, one of those special avocado mayonnaises or something. I'm talking about Best Foods mayonnaise, mayo, this stuff. Nothing else will do. By the way, not sponsored by Best Foods. All right. But if they'd like to sponsor us, we can talk. Okay, 2 eggs, because these are big pieces of bread, and we're going for it over medium. Over easy is too hard to eat in a sandwich. Sunny side up is definitely too hard to eat in a sandwich. But I don't want over hard, and I definitely don't want scrambled, because then it's not a fried egg sandwich. Okay. So you saw, I like to fry my eggs out of a ramekin. It just makes them easier to serve up onto the frying pan. I'm on a low heat. And you can bring up a little more heat. If you put the eggs into the frying pan and the frying pan is too hot, the result is the eggs coagulate very fast, and the proteins squeeze all of the water out of the eggs, and you wind up with rubbery, dry eggs. And so I'm just going to let these cook until the whites have completely set. Once the whites have set, we'll flip those over, and that's about the right size for the piece of bread I got here. I also like to make sure that it's going to move. Keep it moving on the plate. I mean, it's a non-stick pan, but it's one of those ceramic non-stick pans, so it's not as slippery as Teflon. I did put a little butter down. So we'll see what happens here on the flip. I'm going to turn up the heat a little bit more, because I do like a crispy edge. And while it's heating, we're going to put mayonnaise on this bread. Yeah, so anyway, NaNoWriMo. So I think that this year, I'll probably take the scenes from the story that I wrote, or the scenes that I wrote in April, and turn those into a novel. But, I mean, I changed my mind right up until Halloween for what my Nano project is going to be. Since Elon Musk took over Twitter, I kind of lost my, and everybody abandoned ship. I sort of lost my Twitter community, my Nano community on Twitter, which has kind of made it hard, because that's been my favorite part. My favorite part of NaNoWriMo is communicating with all the other Rhymos on Twitter. So thanks, Elon, for that. Okay, egg is almost ready to flip. Give it a little bit more heat. It's heating a little slower than I'd like. I'm not going to get a crispy skin, but as you can see, the white is almost solid all the way through. And when it's ready, it'll be ready to flip over. Get rid of this knife. Okay, here goes. We're gonna flip these 2 eggs in one unit. And I want to make sure they continue to be moving around on the pan. Means it's not going to stick. As long as I keep them moving, they shouldn't stick, which means I'm not going to break my yolk. But since I'm going for over medium, I just want that yolk to be soft but not runny. I'm gonna let it cook. Keep an eye on the edge. I can see one of the yolks kind of sticking out of the edge, so I can keep an eye on it and see as it turns up a lighter yellow. Yeah, so if you want to be my NaNoWriMo buddy, my handle is paperback stories, PABERBACK, like paperback books, paperback stories on NaNoWriMo. And then we can write books together, or for the month of July, we'll write blog posts together, or whatever you write. Because that's the point. That's the difference between Camp Nano and regular Nano. So Camp Nano, you get to set whatever goal you want. For November, for NaNoWriMo, you set 50,000 word goal, and you have to write 50,000 words. I know a lot of people like play fast and loose with it, but I feel like that's the challenge. The challenge is in writing a book, not in figuring out how to write something else. I feel that's what Camp Nano is for. So I set my word count right now for my Camp Nano word count to 15, and I'll just check off one for every blog post. I'll make sure each blog post is at least 500 words and is hopefully well written. This egg yolk is almost done. Well, give it a little squish test here. I can feel them hardening up towards the edges, but I want them to be like more like jelly and less like syrup. Yeah, so anyway, 15 blog posts in the month of July. And I think that's going to be a cool challenge for me. Okay, I believe these eggs, they're a little underdone, but I think they'll continue to cook. So I'm going to flip them out of the pan. Onto my bread here. And so get a load of that. Isn't that a beautiful thing? I don't think anything, there are very few things that taste better than a fried egg sandwich, I gotta say. So we're gonna close up the Sammy. Cut it in half. Trying not to break a yolk, so if one of them is still runny, it's not gonna run on the cut. All right, let's pick up this bad boy. Looks good to me. Perfect. Nothing's better than that.